Okay. All right, so as Emma said, my first presentation, it's funny, I played college tennis, played in front of 4,000 people, US Open, and this is way harder. But they say pretend everyone's naked, so we're all good. I'm feeling better already. Anyway, yeah, real quick, I work for an Australian company, Study and Play USA. I met them last year at the Aussie Open. I last minute got put on this panel about the college pathway and sat next to Chris Bates, who now is my boss, and he played college tennis at Oklahoma State. And we just really hit it off. He wasn't looking to hire anyone. I wasn't really looking for a job. I was busy just hiking mountains in Colorado, making my parents very upset with no job. So, but as we kept speaking, I was really impressed with how they do things. I was a college coach, like Emma said, for 11 years, worked with a lot of these companies on the other end of it. So they were emailing me about their players and this and that. And as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of kind of sketchy agents out there that don't really care so much about really the right fit, which is what we really pride ourselves on. And they just get the players to a school and then they forget them, and that's it. What they do really well here, which is why I want to be a part of this company, is it's really important to them that they don't just get them scholarships, but they really find a place that they're going to thrive and be happy. So that's sort of what drew me towards that. So here is me in Norway, just in case you didn't believe it. But yeah, I was born about 5 kilometers from here, Ullevål sykehus. Me and my cousin, they obviously fed me very well. I was born 6 weeks early, but you would never know from that photo that I was premature. And I did the traditional Norwegian, get the Christmas tree with my grandfather, ski through the woods and pick up our tree. So I have very strong ties here, even though I've lived in the US for most of my life. I come back for Christmas probably 40 of my 45 years, so it's an important part of my life. Fed Cup, as you can see, I'm very easy to spot in the Fed Cup photo. Most of the girls are tall, blonde, and then you have me. But I played a 3 years Fed Cup here, which was really fun. Obviously, couldn't make the US team. I don't know why. There were a couple other players a little better than me, but managed to sneak on the Norwegian team. Caroline on the right, she ended up playing for Pepperdine and the University of California, Berkeley. She was actually at Berkeley when the Crown Prince was at Berkeley, so she got to know him pretty well. And this is going to be a little bit about what we do. So again, we think of ourselves as a family. We're a very small company. I think 6 of us. We just hired someone else, but most of us connected to sport. Chris and his wife are the owners of the company. And let's see here, this is us. The woman all the way to that side, Maria, she's married to a former professional cricketer. Then Chris is the only guy in the picture, so I'm sure you figured out who he is. But really, really fun small group. Like I said, really feel like family. When I first visited the office in Brisbane, it was 2 weeks after the fall session started in the US, and Chris was literally on the phone, I think, the entire day talking to kids. How's your first 2 weeks in school? And that really gave me a good idea of how well they do things. So I coached, again, 11 years college tennis. This is a picture of me with a player that I still keep in very good touch with. She's in law school right now in Canada. And then I coached, I've got to say here, I coached, forgetting your name now, Lucy's sister, Julie, at Louisiana. And one thing about college tennis that I think, again, so that I'm connected to Lucy because her sister, I just met her yesterday, because her sister played for me. Obviously, Emma and I played in 1995, which is funny. How many people here played college tennis? Anyone? Did you all have good experiences overall? Yeah. Would you recommend it? Do you feel like you'd recommend it? Yep. Yeah, I think the biggest thing we see outside of the US, Australia in particular, obviously, is that you have to make a choice. At 17, 18 years old, am I going to pursue my sport or am I going to pursue school? And obviously, I think the US is one of the only places you can do both, and at a very high level. You know, if you're good enough to turn pro, great, but we're always big believers in education. And I always tell kids, too, that you don't have to stay in college. So if you go for 1 year and you're killing it and you turn pro, you know, you don't have to stay. There's no obligation on that end. here are a couple players that we have currently in school, the two on the left that I actually helped with this year. They just started in January. And then this guy who I didn't work with, but one thing we talk about is the networking. And those of you that went to college, I think probably know too, that you get a pretty big network once you leave school between the athletic department and then all the internships that are open to you and possibilities just through the sport. So this is just a little bit of a snapshot of what you get if you're on a full scholarship. There's so many different kinds of scholarships. On the women's side, it's a little bit easier to get full scholarships in tennis, or quite a bit easier to get full rides, but it covers pretty much everything. And today, even some schools are giving you cash in hand on top of your full scholarship so that you can buy your iPhone or whatever you need. But yeah, it's valued basically an average value of about 400,000 US dollars. Again, these are kind of the things that we think college tennis provides for people that leave. You have, my doubles partner, this is probably not very nice, but she wasn't a rocket scientist in school, but we won a national title, and she had her national championship ring on during an interview, and as soon as the person interviewing her saw that, she got hired, and really didn't matter that she didn't know anything about the job. I think as an athlete, if you have on your resume that you competed at a collegiate level and then got your degree, there's a lot of qualities that you have learned through that process, like hard work, teamwork, discipline, deadlines, pressure, that translate directly over to almost any job. And those aren't the job is not going to teach you that. You can learn how to do the stock market, but you can't learn how to handle pressure, necessarily like you would if you've had the experience of being an athlete. Do all of you know what UTR is? How do you feel about it? Do you like it? In Norway, I don't know much about. Is it accurate, do you feel, for your player's level? No? Yeah, okay, so in Australia it's definitely not, it's an obstacle because this is the system that most coaches are going to at the moment to kind of gauge level. And I think Norway would probably be similar in terms of there's not a huge amount of opportunity to compete in UTR events, so maybe my UTR is an 8, but really I'm competing at a 9, but how do we get college coaches to understand that, even though my number is an 8, I'm better than that. And that's something that we spend a lot of time doing, part of our job, and Chris and I in particular, because we played and coached. It is the system, so we have to work with it, but our big thing is if you are looking to do the college pathway or have athletes that you're working with, it's super important. And one way around the UTR is just having head-to-head matches. So if you have even a competitive loss, so say I'm a 9 UTR, but I lost 7-5, 7-5 to a 10-5, that's really good information for me to have to give to a college coach and say, okay, look. And that happened actually with one of the girls that I showed you on an earlier slide. She I think was an 8 UTR, and she's at the University of Tulsa, but she took video of a match against an 11-2 UTR. She lost 6-2, 6-3. But it was a very competitive match, and the coaches saw how she played, and next thing you know, she's talking about full ride to Tulsa. So I think for countries like Norway, it's about playing. You've got to play. You've got to show match results. College coaches are looking, obviously, for you to trend upwards, and so if you're coming into college and you're trending, obviously, the other way, it's not an easy sell. So this is a good slide for anyone in terms of, it's not exact, but it gives you a gauge of where you can go based on what your UTR is. There's obviously exceptions to every rule, and we can help push your UTR up a little bit, but there's a ton of opportunities. I was just speaking with someone earlier that I didn't even know about, honestly, a lot of these divisions. I played Division I, I lived in my little bubble, I coached Division I, and when I took this job, I'm learning about NAIA. Does anyone know about NAIA? What that is? Yeah. So NAIA is sort of like a competitor of the NCAA. That was their intent. They're much smaller, but they have 3 divisions as well. They give scholarships as well. the level can be very good. Division I probably is deeper in terms of level, but again, depending on what your purpose is, if you want to go and play number one on a team right away, then you might have more opportunity in NAIA. You might really like the coach there, and if you're about developing and you want to maybe turn pro, you want to really go somewhere where the coach is going to develop you while you're there, which doesn't happen everywhere. But again, you have junior college option, which is 2 years. After 2 years, then you sell yourself basically to a Division I or Division II school based on your results in junior college. A lot of kids take that pathway if their grades aren't great, because anyone can go to junior college and it's very cheap. And then you build your resume up in junior college, and then maybe a school at Division I that wouldn't have talked to you in the beginning will now look at you and want to have a conversation about you playing there. Also, if you've been away from home for 2 years, they know that you're not going to get homesick since you've already been away. So yeah, those are different divisions and sort of the levels that we think you basically need to be at to get in different ones. Do you know the difference between D1, D2, D3 in terms of scholarships or how that works? Anyone? No? So D1 is fully athletic scholarships. Everything is based on your level of play, whatever sport that is. D2, you get a combination of academic and athletic money. You could still have a full scholarship, but the money might be coming half from your grades and half from your tennis. So the coach decides how much money they want to give you on the tennis side, so they like athletes that have good grades, because then the school gives them more academic money and the coach can give them less tennis, and then they can spread their money out more. But at the end of the day, obviously, I don't think any parents or people care where the money comes from. It's just how much you're going to get. But generally, if you get accepted into a D2 school as an international, you're probably going to get about $10,000 automatically just being accepted to the university. So it's a much more economical route, especially compared to Division I, if you're not one of the top players. And again, you can transfer as well. So if you are D2 and you're really doing really well and you want to transfer to D1, you can transfer within all those divisions going upward. So here are some people that played college tennis. It's Danielle Collins, John Isner, I can't remember his name, an Aussie guy on the bottom left, and Asher Sharma, who's also Aussie that played at Vanderbilt. So I think that's another thing that's changed a lot over the years. Is it used to be kind of like if you go to college, you're not going to have a pro career. That was sort of what people felt. I think that's changed a lot for a lot of reasons, including the age that we have people like Federer and Nadal out there playing the way they're playing at their age. So the age, I think, has gone a bit higher in terms of the average age on tour. And I think John Isner talks about it a lot, and maybe I'm a little biased because we went to the same university, but the facilities that you get in college are sometimes and often better than the professional facilities in all sports. So the Wisconsin football facility is nicer than the Washington Redskins facility in the NFL, because I've been to both. So you're getting literally the state-of-the-art equipment, sometimes some of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the country, sometimes the world. They're coming from all over the world. And you're getting coaching from assistant coaches, head coaches, sports psych coaches, nutritionists. Now these schools are providing all these services for free. And then on the academic side too, you're getting free tutoring, mentoring, all of that is sort of included. So you have a ton of help while you're in school. They want you to succeed, and they pretty much give you every tool you need to have success. This, I think, is 2019. We couldn't find one on the women's side, but these are all the players from college that played in the US Open qualifying draw in 2019. So it's a pretty good group. I think people are surprised when they see the amount of college players that are actually having success. So we have kind of 4 phases at our company, and phase 1 is preparation, and it's an assessment. So for free, we sit down with the family and the athlete either through Skype or in person, and we talk to them about their level, what divisions we feel are appropriate based on their level and where we think they might track. We do an academic assessment because the NCAA is pretty strict in Division I as to what classes you've taken and to make sure that you're eligible. So we don't want you getting 2 months away from college and finding out you're not eligible to play because you didn't take science in 10th grade. So we assess all of that to make sure that you have all of your classes that you need, or that if you don't, we correct that before it's too late. And we, like I said, it's all free. That we we give you plenty. You decide if you want to join up with us, and then so preparation. Once you decide to sign up, we make a player profile for every athlete. It talks about you as a person. It talks about your academics. It talks about your athletic achievements. There'll be a YouTube video of you competing, ideally. Some coach references, pretty much a resume for you that we would then, as my position, I would then reach out to coaches and give them access to this profile. So then we have a portal that we open up to all of our clients that once you're ready to start talking to coaches, and we encourage also coaches to talk to the coaches of the players, because all of you are coaching these kids have probably spent more time. Sometimes you've spent 8 years teaching this kid, and I think it's important from my perspective as a coach for you to talk to the coach. We teach them how to have these interviews. Because they get nervous talking to coaches, and so we have mock interviews on this portal that they can do. We explain all the divisions. One thing that we do spend a lot of time on is really educating that Division I, people think Division I's the best, Division II's the second best. That's not necessarily true. We think of it more horizontally. Division III is very academic based, so if you want to go Division III, all of the money that you get would be academic based, how good you are academically. It doesn't matter if you're Serena Williams, you're not getting athletic money at Division III. So we try to really stress to not think of it as like, oh, I'm not as good because I'm going to Division II. That might be a way better option for you depending on your level and what you want to study, what kind of program you want. And then we talk to them and help them arrange visits if they do want to come to the States and take some looks at schools. Then we go through all the really fun stuff. Thankfully, I don't do this part, but all the paperwork, all the eligibility information, the visa information, the admission. So every athlete, regardless of whether you're getting a full scholarship, you have to apply like a normal student through the university's website. Some of these applications are more complicated than others, but we have people in the office that walk every athlete through this, through every step of it. So it really, I think that the value of what company like we do, like us, is doing this all on your own is a lot of work, as I'm sure she could tell you. It's overwhelming. Parents, especially that don't know the system. My parents are both foreign, so they didn't know what was going on. And when I went to school, it was a lot easier. It wasn't as complicated. And I mean, they had no idea what college sports were. They thought it was crazy, So we kind of just take away all of that stress. And educate that, really the two most important thing, or three, is how well you compete in your sport, how well you do in school, and how well you do on the SAT exam. Everyone know what the SAT exam is? That's like our big entrance exam to universities in the U.S. If all those three things are pretty good, you're going to have tons of opportunity. There's thousands of universities to choose from, and what I always tell kids is not just one great university. You're going to have, there's 30, 40 schools you'd probably go to and have a great experience at if your dream school doesn't work out. My dream school was like a lot of people in my shoes, Stanford. I didn't go to Stanford. They didn't even write back to me. So we actually played Stanford in the finals of the NCAA championships, and I said, well, you never wrote back to me. That's why I wanted to win so badly. So there's ways to turn that around and make it a good story. And then we do something I think that a lot of other companies don't do. We do keep in touch with our kids. We do provide mentoring and support, and we're actually going to build that even bigger to an add-on service that, helping kids during the 4 years. And sometimes, you're having an issue with your coach, not necessarily wanting to go to your coach and talk about the issues. So I've already dealt with some of my kids' first few weeks of school. They don't feel like they're good enough to be on the team. And so just providing support and an open communication with them to try to help them navigate the beginning beginning, and you know, you go to these schools and you were the best player in this tennis club here, and then you go to these schools and everyone was the best player at their tennis club, and all of a sudden the level's completely different, and sometimes that's really tough for especially girls, I think, because they're more sensitive in that way. They take it more personally, some of the things, as at least I felt when I coached college. I coached girls for 11 years, and it's sometimes tough to navigate, and also it's tough to explain to them that they need to care about their teammate. So tennis is a very selfish sport usually, so that transition can be tough. So how do you start if you want to do this? Like I said, these are assessments, reviews, talking about the scholarships, costs, and then we usually can tell from my boss has been doing this for 15 years, like a pretty good idea of how much money we think you're going to need to come up with every year out of your own pocket if you're not at the level that's going to get a full scholarship. And in that way, you have a good idea of what you're looking at. And some people say my budget's $10,000, and then we make sure we are only targeting schools where we can make that number work. So yeah, in closing, that's my team. We had really awesome outfits. Yeah, it's very, I was debating whether we put this slide up. Every time my friends go to University of Georgia, there's still pictures up there of us in these horrible outfits and scrunchy, but the scrunchie's coming back, so I feel like. But anyway, that's my team, and one story, and I think the most important lesson that I probably didn't touch on at the moment yet is just the stories. So yeah, I was very fortunate. I went to a school where we won 3 national titles. I never went to school thinking I'm going to go win national titles. When I get together with my teammates, which quite a few of them, all of them actually, I keep in touch with, we never talk about winning national titles. We talk about, remember when you were 10 minutes late and we tried to get the coach to go over there so that you didn't notice? Or one time I was on a trip, I went to Georgia, so Atlanta is a pretty big airport. It's bigger now. 2 of us decided we're going to get frozen yogurt, so we went off, came back, plane's gone, coach is gone, team's gone. Assistant's not gone, and we were in a lot of trouble. And those are the days you could get on the next flight for free, so like it wasn't that big of a deal. Today it would be a lot harder. So, but anyway, it's the stories. I think Julie could vouch. I'm sure you've heard plenty of her stories, and just the relationships that you build that are really for a lifetime. I was speaking in Sydney last month ago, and one of my former teammates who played with Julie on Julie's team lives in Sydney now, is working there, and came and spoke. So just how you find out how connected everybody is, and really, again, outside of Fed Cup, Davis Cup, it's the only opportunity in the world to play tennis on a team, and I think when you talk to players that have done it, like John Isner or Astra, they all probably would put college tennis up at one of the highlights of their career. So if you want any more information, I'll be here. I have cards if anyone wants to take a card and ask any questions, follow up. But that's what I've got, and thank you for having me, and I survived, so it's good. Thanks.